Hi guys, this is Luke, author, coach, and vegucator. Today my presentation is going to be about the 6 pillars to a balanced life. The 6 pillars are super duper important to maintain just health and wellness, feeling healthy and wealthy at the same time, because we're all about health and wealth, and working hard is one thing, but your health is also just as important. And in order to achieve balance, I look at these 6 pillars. Firstly, stress management, connection, time in nature, the movement, nutrition, and sleep. So I want you to just take a moment just to look at these 6 segments and put a number next to each of them and figure out which is your lowest number. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. I'll draw your attention to the stress management one. 5 is super chill. That means you manage your stress really, really well. 0 is super stressed. So give you a moment there. Put a number. So whatever the number that is lowest out of these 6 pillars, I would like, maybe that's the pillar that you'd like to focus on a little bit more during this presentation. So a little bit about me. I've been in the health and fitness space for more than a decade now. Competed as an athlete, worked as a strength and conditioning coach, and also worked as a life coach. So been in this space for a while, but in the last 5 years, I also co-host this global online event called the Plant Fit Summit. And our event has reached out to tens of thousands of people, helping them live healthier lives through nutrition and movement. So why do I focus on the 6 pillars? Really, it comes from a personal level because I am a dad of 2 little girls. My daughter is 4 years old, and my youngest is 7 months old. So if you're a working parent, you know what it's like to be stressed at work and come home and still function as a parent, wake up early, bring them to school, at the end maybe read them a bedtime story, and then just go through that cycle again. And on the weekend you may want to take them to classes. So it's a constant grind, especially right now with travel restrictions. We don't really get a chance to decompress and de-stress, so we're just kind of stuck in this loop. So for me, the 6 pillars are key, and I try to hit my 6 pillars every day and throughout the week. So jumping straight into it, the first pillar is movement. I want to ask you right now, when you're watching this presentation, are you sitting down or are you standing up? I probably bet $100 that you're likely sitting down watching this presentation. I would say get up because we spend so much time sitting, and when we think of the amount of time that we're sitting, I mean, there's so much research pointing to sitting is the new smoking. So sitting disease contributes to elevates your risk to chronic disease by 10 to 20%. And when you think of how much you're sitting throughout the day, how much I am sitting throughout the day, I did a stock take a while back. I train maybe 3 to 4 times a week. Each time I train about 1 hour. Maybe I commute to the office. A total of about 95 to 98% of my time is spent sitting. And because when you're sitting, it's going to affect your posture. You're going to have frozen shoulders. You're going to have, tight wrists, especially when you're on the computer. So I think sitting is, and the thing is that when we actually talk about training and going to the gym, how much of your time is spent at the gym? Maybe 2-3 times a week. So really, there's not a lot of time of movement and activity. And when we think about it, movement activity, we have a total of 360 joints, and we're meant to run, jump, swim, crawl, lift, push, pull. But we're in this static position the whole day, and that affects firstly our energy levels, that affects, as I shared before, our posture, and also just our focus. So when I did a calculation a while back, and where movement and where sitting is concerned, you actually burn 60 more calories when you're standing. So think about that. If you're working standing for 8 hours, 8 times 6, 50 is 480 calories. So just by working standing, you're burning 480 or 500 calories more than you are sitting. And if you're eating well, I'm going to go into fuel next, nutrition next, you are in a deficit. So you're on the path to weight loss while moving and improving your posture as well. So number one is consider how much you're sitting and maybe look towards maybe not standing for 8 hours, maybe work towards maybe like just an hour and integrate some movement breaks. Number one, so that's number one. Try to work standing, integrate some movement breaks as well. Number two is set yourself a crucible. So what is a crucible? A crucible really is a metal container where other materials are melted and transformed to a different form. So that's one definition of a crucible. The second definition of a crucible that I know of is a test that recruits are put through to become Marines. It's a test that challenges them physically, mentally, emotionally, and morally. And through this called quote-unquote Hell Week, they become Marines or become Navy SEALs. So I'm not asking you to put yourself in a metal container and melt yourself or join a boot camp. But I'm suggesting for you to maybe consider a crucible, like maybe a fun run, setting X amount of push-ups a day, say 20 or 30 a day, and committing to say, I'm going to do 30 push-ups a day for 30 days, or something like that, setting a crucible that will challenge your focus and drive to more movement. So the takeaway for the movement piece is work standing for at least 1 hour a day. So remember, it's 60 calories free of charge if you just stand up. Alternatively, you can plan movement breaks. You can use things like the tomato timer, Pomodoro breaks, and set a time where I'm going to work for 45 minutes, and when the timer goes 5 minutes, just get up, move around, rotate your wrists, rotate your shoulders, get a glass of water, get some tea, go over to say hi to your family members if you're working from home, or your colleagues. Because the thing is that when you don't think about it, when you work, you're going to be on your bum the whole day. When you work in front of the computer, you head to dinner, and then you sit down and chill out, you're sitting a lot. And the final piece is, as I shared before, decide on a crucible or even join an online challenge. I've got a QR code. A lot of these takeaways are in my 8-day challenge. So whether it's movement breaks, whether it's hydration, just scan the QR codes and I will take you through an 8-day crucible that will help with your health, nutrition, and movement as well, and stress management. So pillar 2, nutrition, fuel. How do you eat? What do you eat and how it impacts your health? When we look at the top chronic diseases and the top killers in the region, globally I would say the top 5: heart disease, cancer, hypertension, stroke, ischemic heart disease. All these more often than not are related to, of course, lifestyle factors, and particularly what we eat. And that's what it says. This quote here I love. People are fed by the food industry, which pays no attention to health, and are treated by the health industry, which pays no attention to food. So I think, so what do you do? How do you eat better? Well, when we look at eating better, you want to eat lower on the food chain, okay? So if we look at the food chain, to a certain degree, some people believe that we are on top of the food chain. But the problem with being on top of the food chain is you're eating, especially with animal, industrially farmed meats and industrially farmed fish, you're consuming a lot of toxins. So the higher you are in the food chain, the more toxins you are absorbing. So what I mean by eating on the lower on the food chain is, for me, I advocate a fully plant-based diet. I've been on this lifestyle for a decade as well, and I know of many people who have, through the summit, that have reversed stage 3 cancer, stage 4 cancer, also reverse diabetes, autoimmune conditions. So I've seen it all, but I also know of athletes who have extended their athletic career, increased their recovery, and turned pro since moving towards a plant-based diet. So you might or might not have seen The Game Changers on Netflix. If you haven't, I would suggest for you to check out The Game Changers and this other documentary, Forks Over Knives. It talks about health and a plant-based diet. So those are two recommendations there. So why do I have a Swiss Army knife here? So I talk about chronic disease reversal, I talked about athletic performance, and I would say as a full-time, not full-time, but as a parent, working full-time, I want energy, I want focus, I don't want to be lethargic after a big meal. And why I bring this up and why do I put the Swiss Army knife here is because when you think of the Swiss Army knife, it's a tool for many users, and that's really what a plant-based diet is. It helps with chronic disease reversal, it helps with athletic performance, it helps with longevity, it helps boost longevity as well, helps with the aging process. So when we actually look at nutrition, you want to start looking at nutrient diversity. So what does nutrient diversity mean? I was an ex-bodybuilder, consuming 1 kilo of meat a day, but I also competed as a plant-based bodybuilder. And I came from the macro mindset where I was always looking at my protein, carbs, and fats. I had a very reductionistic and very myopic view towards my nutrition. But when I made the switch overnight to a 100% plant-based diet, I did it for ethical reasons. My energy levels just spiked in a week, and 10 years on, I haven't suffered from protein deficiency or and any of the misconceptions that people have for those that are on a plant-based diet. So nutrient diversity is zooming out, rather than looking at macros, looking at the color of foods, color, water, fiber of foods. So when we talk of water, color, fiber, each color of a particular food represents a micronutrient, a phytochemical that your body needs. So where are your greens, your chlorophyll, where are your reds, your lycopene, where are your orange, beta carotene, and all your flavonoids, all your antioxidants, vitamins and minerals come from plant-based foods. So start thinking of color, start eating your vegetable first, start trying to maybe just go one day plant-based, or the easiest, the lowest hanging fruit is maybe substituting dairy milk for non-plant-based, for a plant-based milk. So like soy milk, almond milk, oat milk. That is the first and easiest change that you can make. And I've got this big, you might see, I've got this big bottle of water. So I commit to drinking about 3.5-4 liters of water a day. And it's helped with my focus. It helps with my skin. It helps with my perceived hunger signals. A lot of times when we feel that when we're hungry, it's actually our body sending a signal to our brain saying we're actually thirsty, but we perceive it as hunger. So you can actually drink yourself to losing weight. Water, not beer or wine. So I would suggest for you to just consider, if you ask any person or any health coach or wellness coach talks, what's the first thing you should do? Drink more water. We always hear it, but we don't think about it. And we walk around, like, I know my mom walks around with a bottle this big of water. She said, Mom, I tell my mom, you should drink more water. I say, yeah, I do. I've got this bottle of water. And at the end of the day, she drinks this much. That is barely anything. So drink more water. So the takeaway, once again, is reduce the first and foremost, if you can, reduce or eliminate dairy or milk consumption. A lot of people, when they remove dairy or milk from their diets, their skin improves, their digestion improves. Asthma actually goes away. I was a chronic asthmatic for many years of my life. Eliminating dairy improved my respiratory system significantly. I used to have a lot of phlegm, and that's what a lot of people find by eliminating dairy. And I know of people who have had years of eczema using steroid creams, but by eliminating dairy, all of that went away. So I would say try, as a first port of call, reduce or eliminate dairy consumption. Next thing is fiber up. And people always ask me, Luke, you're 100% plant-based diet. Where do you get your protein? I was like, where do you get your fiber? So start fibering up, and rather than thinking of oh goodness, I need to have more fiber, just have more colorful foods, vegetables. And I didn't really define what plant-based whole foods are. So really what I'm advocating is whole grains, nuts and seeds, legumes like your tofu, tempeh, or any sort of beans, and fruits and vegetables. Just really start loading your plate with that. And also eating the rainbow, which comes back down to the color of foods. Look at where are my purples, where are my oranges, where are my greens. And I put the acronym there, J-BOMBS, which was created by Dr. Joel Fuhrman, who advocates a nutrient-dense plant-based diet for chronic disease reversal. So G-BOMBS are greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. So berries could be just fruit. So think of G-BOMBS. Where are my G-BOMBS? Where are my colors? Where is my fiber? And then just focus on that first, and then have everything else. So I always tell people who are considering moving towards a plant-based diet, don't focus on what you can't have, focus on what you can have. Finally, hydrate with at least 2 liters of water. Buy a nice water bottle, like mine. I spend like $80 on this. It keeps my water cold for 72 hours. Buy a nice water bottle and commit to, if it's a 1 liter, 2 fills. I just need to commit to 2 fills a day. I just need to finish that. And then beyond that, do what you will. So that is the takeaway. Once again, the QR code brings you to the challenge. So the next one is sleep. When you think of using a credit card, you go and buy furniture, you go buy your shoes, you buy your groceries. And it's really nice to just go to the store and just sign. But at the end of the month, the bill comes and you're just like, oh my goodness, I overspent. That's what sleep is about. Sleep is like having a credit card. You can use it for as much as you like, but at some point you need to pay it back. So you will accumulate a sleep debt. So a sleep debt might contribute to weight gain and might contribute to chronic disease down the track as well. So it's important to prioritize sleep, especially if you're busy parent. I know there are peaks and troughs. There's certain times where you're going to be working and grinding a lot harder, but remember to recover and remember to take some time out just to decompress and sleep. So especially where sleep is concerned, look at your circadian rhythms. Your circadian rhythm, so depending on where you are in the world, our biological time clock follows the sun. When the sun rises, we wake up, our melatonin secretion stops. As we start getting through the day, we go through different phases of I would say go through different phases, and at about in the late afternoon, that's when we are, as it says here, the strongest, greatest in cardiovascular and skeletal muscle strength. So it's been researched that a lot of Olympic records have been built. I'll try that again. A lot of Olympic records have been broken around between the hours of 4 to 6, because that is when you are at your peak. So ideally, where sleep is concerned, you want to really try and wind the clock back. You want to try and sleep if you can, between 10, not more than 10, because between 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is when your body starts to recover, repair, cellular renewal starts on a physiological standpoint. That's where it starts. If you miss that window, you're going to miss that recovery and reparation process. So I would recommend for you to slowly, if you're working at midnight, maybe not jump straight to 10, slowly wind the clock back and decide a time to stop working. Because as we know, if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you're probably going to be grinding pretty hard, and then you might need to wake up early, bring the kids to school and things like that. So really try and prioritize sleep. So these are just some aspects that you can improve on. Things like putting your phone on airplane mode, putting an eye mask, making sure that the room is extremely dark, because I use an eye mask because there's in my room there's quite a lot of ambient light. There might be red dots from the standby of my TV, or of the computer. So when you're going through the sleep process, your eyes actually do open, and when there's a little bit of ambient light, you will, to a certain degree, jump right awake. So by having an eye mask, it creates a constant dark environment. So although your eyes are open, you'll still kind of go back to sleep. So, and the next piece is maybe hydration and food. Try and stop between, at least 2 to 3 hours before bed, because the last thing you want to do is wake up in the middle of the night, head to the toilet to pee, and that will just disrupt your sleep. So in terms of the takeaway for sleep, decide on a time to disconnect. It could be, like I said, if you've worked till midnight, maybe start winding it back by 30 minutes. And then, okay, once you're used to that for a couple of weeks, start winding it back until you get to, say, about 10. You're in a good spot. But decide on a time to disconnect, and meaning phones away, airplane mode, even have a bedtime ritual, start reading a light novel, journal, write on a journal, say, what went well today, what am I grateful for, what unresolved issues have I faced today, what will I do better tomorrow, because sometimes we don't tie up the loose ends for the day and we carry on the stress for today into tomorrow. So we're starting 3 steps back. So resolve the day. And finally, minimize food and hydration before bed. So pillar 4, connection, or the connection with the people around you, your family or your friends. We live in a hyper-connected world. Everybody's walking around on the phone. Being based in Singapore, this was the picture that I took when I was in the MRT going to work one day, and everybody was on their phone. It was literally like the Matrix. We are so deeply connected and yet disconnected, which is the problem. We're so glued to our phone, so much so that we're at the dinner table in front of our loved ones and we're looking at the phone. And many a time I've been to restaurants and there's a whole family there, father, mother, mama, papa, and the 2 kids. Everyone's on their phone, disconnected. So we got to change that. So I think when we talk about being connected to our phone, we think of social media, and social media is to a certain degree has created a situation where a lot more children are more depressed, elevates our risk of social anxiety as well. So, and social media is a source of distraction, so much so that it distracts us from true human connections, and we value our connections with others in this modern world with likes and follows. And when you lose likes and follows on social media, for some people, it affects them in a deep psychological and emotional level. So that's why depression sometimes has been associated with an increased use of social media. So what do we do? Connect with people. This Blue Zones, you can Google the TED Talk by Dan Buettner, or just Google TED Talk Blue Zones. And Blue Zones are 5 pockets of communities around the world that have the highest amount of centenarians. So they're living to about 90 plus, 100 plus, and living really, really well. And one person that comes to mind is Dr. Ellsworth Wareham. He was a practicing heart surgeon in his late 90s. So he was still working on people in the operating theater, and he was in one of the Blue Zones, Loma Linda. So the commonalities, there are nine commonalities between 5 of these Blue Zones, and it's it's moving naturally, a sense of purpose, pretty much a plant-based diet. Wine at 5. For some reason, I find that one very, very fascinating. But I just want to draw your attention to 3 out of the 9. It is a sense of belonging, putting loved ones first, and belonging to the right tribe. So Connection is key. Connection allows for, better relationships, allows for living a long and healthy life, but also helps to decompress and helps you de-stress, laugh. Especially right now and in the past 2 years, it has been quite heavy, the air, especially with social isolation, social distancing. So it's time to just reconnect with people, not through social media, not through Facebook, but really maybe having a Zoom call, a WhatsApp message with a WhatsApp video, WhatsApp audio, and maybe meeting up with someone for a coffee. So what are the takeaways for the connection piece? Decide on a tech-free day, maybe on Sunday with your family. Say, all right, we are not going to bring out our phone today because no one contacts you on a Sunday. Maybe, hopefully not at least. Put your phone at home and head outside. And every now and then, this is what I do. When I think of someone that I value and treasure, I will send them a WhatsApp voice message and say, hey, Sam, I'm really thinking about you. I really appreciate our friendship. We just wanted to check how you're doing. Please, just message me if you want to chat or just meet up. But just wanted to let you know I'm thinking about you. And the amount of times that I get a message back saying, oh my goodness, Luke, that was unexpected. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really miss, our times together. Let's catch up. Just little things like that, just to connect and share your friendship, share your love with your friends, family members, because we don't talk so much these days. We're just always on our phones. So it's time to just go back to our roots, phone someone, send a message, and use technology, send a voice message. And the final piece is to regularly connect with a support or social network. So whatever your support or social network is, whether you go to church, whether you go to the temple, whether you have a cycle group, whether you have a run group, whether like my mom, she plays mahjong. She plays mahjong every now and then. Connect with her. She connects with the church friends. So regularly connect with people so you don't feel so alone. So yeah, that's a connection piece. So Pillar 5 is time in nature, and this is not something that I used to think about, but I do think about very much so right now, especially in an environment where we're always in built-up areas. We are in an office, we go back home, and we're in a box. We stare at a box the whole day. We're typing in a box, and we're looking in a box as well on our phone. So we're literally just boxed in this unnatural environment, and we are 100% organic. We are the oceans, the sun, the sand, the sea. That's us. We are part of nature, and we are nature. Unfortunately, we live in this built-up environment. So what do? Schedule time to head to nature. I made a promise to my daughter, Sienna. She's 4 years old. Every Friday, I promise to take you to see the sunrise. So every Friday morning, we find different spots to see the sunrise, rain or shine. When it's raining, we will watch the sun or cloud watch in the car. We've done that before because I just think it's just time for us to just connect. And I used to think I need to connect with nature every single day. In an ideal scenario, ideal world, I would love to be able to walk barefoot, go out to this spot in Marina Barrage in Singapore and watch the sunrise, but just with time constraints, I don't. So, but when I do, I make an occasion out of it. I pack my breakfast, and when I watch the sunrise, I really watch and feel the sunrise. I breathe in the air of the sea. I breathe in the rays of the sun, feel the sun and see the sun, and really just be fully present. So there are moments like that when you can schedule time in to do a full-on nature connection. And also, if a pro tip, take off your shoes and walk bare feet. Let the earth just absorb any charges that you've absorbed in a built-up environment. That allows for a little bit of grounding. So when you're in nature, in a grassy patch, or even in your garden, just walk bare feet and just connect with your senses and allow for nature to just help you recalibrate. However, yes, look, I don't really have time. That's fine. What you can do, micro goals, bring nature into your environment, bring plants into your environment. Things like the snake plant. The snake plant is amazing for detoxifying the air. So there are different plants that help detoxify chemicals in the environment. So bring nature in, and when you do have your 5-minute Pomodoro break, look at the plant and just be present and feel the leaves, look at the soil and really connect with it. It's all I'm saying is really not rocket science. It's just being present and connecting with nature and connecting with all that's around you, because right now, as we say, we are constantly we are hyper connected but disconnected, and that adds to our stress levels. So the takeaway for this really is schedule time in nature. Bring nature, and I would say, yeah, definitely bring nature into your home or office. But I think number one point, schedule time in nature. It doesn't need to be grand. It could just be going out to your balcony on the weekend, just going to the park and just dedicating 15 minutes to just spend some time in nature, walk bare feet. And treat that as a priority, because that will help you recharge and revitalize for the week ahead. And you know, based in Singapore, we're filled with malls. Get out of the malls, head to the beach, head to the parks, go for a nature walk, and just really connect with the flora and the fauna, and allow yourself to just be present. And when you actually prioritize nature time, you're gonna feel like, you know, throughout the whole week you actually look forward to time in nature. So these are the three takeaways once again. So schedule time in nature, bring nature in, and outdoors instead of malls. Finally, stress. Goodness, stress. I'm just looking at this and just thinking about stress just makes me stress, the amount of stuff that I have to do after this, but no doubt you as well. So firstly, you are doing great by watching this presentation. I want to commend you for being here. So stress is one of those things where, you know, we can push it aside. We can handle as much as we can. We have our emails open. We've got WhatsApp notifications until it reaches a point where we just suffer from adrenal fatigue and we just collapse. So we don't want to reach that point. So how can you better manage stress? I love this quote by Viktor Frankl, who was a Holocaust survivor. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So what is this space? The space I would like to draw your attention to is the breath. The breath allows for you to create space between the stimulus that is around you, the stress that's happening around you, and your response to it. So when we think of how long you can go without food, I would say maybe weeks. If you think about how long you can go without liquids or water, days. But if you think about how long you can go without your breath, literally minutes. Alright? So what I'm saying is that breath is your primary fuel source, and yet we don't think about it because we do it automatically. But in fact, how you breathe is how you feel, and how you feel is how you breathe. And we take that for granted because we do it. Right now I'm doing it, you're doing it. But that is so powerful, because by changing the way you breathe, you change your stress response, you change the way you digest, because there's this nerve called the vagus nerve, which connects from your nasal cavity all the way through your lungs into your digestive system. So literally you're changing your physiology just by breathing better. So when you think of breathing, what would your breath be like if you were panicking? Like that, right? Frustrated, angry, like that. However, if you're grateful, calm, and happy, how would you breathe? When I'm watching the sunrise, I breathe the sunrise in. I take my time. And how do I feel? I feel calm. I feel grateful. I feel content. I feel fulfilled. I feel connected. So really, by remembering that you have access to this space around you, by breathing, it's just a matter of making a decision to do so, and maybe even setting reminders for you to do so. So some benefits of proper breathing. I advocate nasal breathing because in terms of boosting the immune system, because your nasal passage has hairs and mucous membranes, and it helps filter the air, especially right now, especially in the past 2 years where we worry about viruses. It helps as a first line of defense to build as a first line of defense as with your immune system. So definitely nasal breathing will help boost your immune system. It helps improve your recovery and aerobic function as well. So the next time when you're walking, take your time and just close your mouth and just breathe through your nose. Just literally do that. It's gonna feel a little bit awkward at the start, but the more you do it, the more benefits you reap from it. Nasal breathing has been a game changer for me in terms of athletic performance, but also really eliminating decades of use of pharmaceuticals. I used to be on Ventolin. Eliminating dairy was one thing, but nasal breathing made me get rid of my pharmaceutical asthmatic medicine permanently. So if you have respiratory illnesses, I would say head to nasal breathing. Beyond that, benefits of proper breathing: stress control, awareness, and mental control. So PBTA and 3-breath rule. So when you are faced, I'm going to share with you some strategies to breathe a little bit better. Okay, so PBTA and 3-breath rule. So when you're faced with a stressful situation, or when your boss walks in, or for example, you've seen an email on social media, something triggers you, and all of a sudden you go into like pause, breathe, think, act. So that's what PBTA stands for. When the stimulus comes, pause for a moment, breathe, apply the 3-breath rule. So 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. Think and then act. So you're going to be in a much better state to respond to the situation versus react to it. So remember PBTA and 3-breath rule. And also, this is something that I do, and I try to remind myself I used to have a little rubber band, and every time I look down and I see that rubber band, 6 breaths a minute. So what is 6 breaths a minute? So literally 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out for 6 times. So that's 1 minute. So we're just going to do that right now. Do that with me, okay? And I want to just get you to just kind of close your eyes right now and just take a deep breath in through your nose. We're just going to focus on nasal breathing in through your nose, out through your nose. Fully conscious of this present moment. The sensations of the breath going in and out. Feeling your chest fall. How does that feel? Chill, right? Relaxed? I feel pretty relaxed just by doing that right now. Just 2 breaths. So imagine that you're constantly walking around, commuting to office, going to the grocery store, supermarket, just remember Luke said 6 breaths a minute. Just focus on doing that, and trust me, you'll watch your world change. You're going to be more present. So the other thing that you can also do is box breathing. This is what I advocate for a lot of my clients to do. Box breathe for at least 5 minutes a day. Ideally 20 minutes twice a day, but let's not go there. At least 5 minutes a day. So what is box breathing? Box breathing is a breath pattern where you literally breathe in a box. So box breathing is used by Navy SEALs to remain calm under stressful conditions. So it works for Navy SEALs in stressful situations, war zones. It will work for you in the office, and it helps with focus. It helps with being able to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest nervous system, which helps with just overall better stress response. So what is a box breathing session? I'm going to take you through just a few quick rounds, okay? So we're going to focus on nasal breathing once again, okay? We're just going to take, as the box says, 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds, 4 seconds out, 4 seconds hold. Alright, so we're gonna meet at the exhale. When I count down from 3, 2, 1, we're gonna exhale together. And 3, 2, 1, and exhale. and inhale for 4. And hold. 3, 2, 1, and let it all out. 3, 2, 1, and hold. 3, 2, 1, and in again. Deep breath in. And hold. 3, 2, 1, and out. 3, 2, 1, and hold. 3, 2, 1, and in. One more cycle. And hold. 3, 2, and out. And hold. And coming back down to your breathing rhythm now. How does that feel? More relaxed? I hope. Yeah, I certainly felt that way too. And this is just a little tool that you can do whenever you're panicked, you're stressed. If you're about to do a presentation, public speaking, do a few rounds of box breathing. Commit. All right, 3 minutes. Everything away. Put some ambient music, put some chill music on, and or even just go to a quiet corner. Do your box breathing for about 4 to 5 minutes, and you'll be able to better manage your stress. So in the QR code on day 8, I do actually take you through a 3-minute box breathing session. So join me in that session and see how you feel after. So the takeaway for the stress response is, firstly, focus on what you can versus can't control. A lot of times we focus on the external environment, what is happening to us, but there's actually a lot that we can do, that we can control. How we show up, how we eat, how we sleep, how we breathe, all of that will affect how the external world shows up for us, for you, for me. Next one is 3-breath rule. Pause breathing act. Apply the 3-breath rule. Box breathe for at least 5 minutes a day. Just dedicate and prioritize time to box breathe any time of the day. It could be after lunch, could be when you wake up, or even when you're driving. Obviously, keep your eyes open. You can box breathe while you're driving, or even just pulling just before you start your car. Box breathe. Just treat this as a habit to just reconnect with the breath, because like I said, how you breathe is how you feel. How you feel is how you breathe. So, going back to the very first slide, for the pillar you need to work on most, what is the one thing you can do right now to move that number closer to a 4 or 5? So focus on that pillar. Maybe when you focus on that pillar, all of the rest of the pillars will get better. With that in mind, I wanted to thank you very much for being with me during this presentation, and I wish you only the best in health and wealth. Thank you.